Donald Trump's chart shows someone built for visibility, power, and polarization. His natal chart is not subtle. It does not describe a private personality seeking peace or anonymity. It describes someone designed for public life, status, confrontation, and dominance of the narrative. Even before politics, the chart shows a person who naturally turns life into a performance and competition into identity. This is also not the kind of chart that produces neutral public reactions. Trump's astrology is inherently polarizing. Strong fixed fire energy, strong 10th house emphasis, and sharp oppositions that create conflict between the individual and the collective. This is why he doesn't simply exist in the public sphere. He disrupts it. He becomes a symbol people either defend or reject intensely. Leo ascendant, why he became a media figure before he became a politician. Trump has a Leo ascendant at 29 degrees, 59 minutes. And this alone explains why his public image has always been central to his life story. Leo rising is not just charisma. It is a need to be seen, to occupy space, to dominate attention, and to lead the room emotionally. Leo rising people often understand something instinctively. Attention is power. They don't hide, they broadcast. They build identity through spectacle, confidence, and visibility. In Trump's case, this is intensified by Mars in Leo conjunct the ascendant. This creates the unmistakable fighter signature. It gives him physical presence, competitiveness, and a confrontational style that feels personal, not strategic. Even in childhood, this aspect often shows up as high energy, stubbornness, and conflict with authority. It describes a child who is difficult to contain and unwilling to submit quietly. This is also why television fit him perfectly. The Apprentice wasn't just a career move. It was a natural expression of Leo rising, being the boss, being watched, being admired or feared, controlling the narrative, and turning authority into entertainment. Siblings and early family dynamics. Why competition starts early. In natal astrology, siblings are linked to the third house, and Trump's third house begins in Libra, ruled by Venus. His Venus is in Cancer in the 11th house, conjunct Saturn. This points to a family environment where social roles and hierarchy mattered. Venus with Saturn in Cancer often describes a childhood where love and approval are connected to expectations. It can feel like affection must be earned through performance, achievement, or correct behavior. In a large family, this often creates competition for recognition. And with Mars rising, Trump is not the child who quietly adapts. He becomes the child who pushes, competes, reacts, and insists on being the strongest presence in the room. That dynamic can shape personality early. The belief that status is not given, it is taken. The military academy, how discipline shaped his raw temperament. Trump was sent to the New York Military Academy, and astrologically, this makes sense. When Mars sits on the ascendant, it creates a personality that is difficult to manage through softness. This is a chart that responds to structure, not emotional persuasion. Military school represents Saturn, rules, hierarchy, consequences, discipline, and Trump's chart contains strong Saturn themes through his Cancer placements, where loyalty and family identity are tied to control. This kind of environment can take a naturally combative child and reshape the energy into something more strategic. It doesn't remove aggression, but organizes it. It trains leadership through authority. It turns conflict into command. Family legacy and inheritance. Why dynasty matters. Trump's chart strongly emphasizes the theme of family legacy. His moon is in Sagittarius in the 4th house, the house of roots, family lineage, and inheritance. Moon in the 4th makes family central emotionally, but Sagittarius makes it bigger than private life. It makes the family story something expansive, symbolic, almost ideological. This is not simply, I love my home, it's my family is my empire. It supports the idea of dynasty, passing the name forward, building a legacy that outlives the individual. This fits the real-world narrative. Trump's children are not separated from the brand. They are integrated into it. The surname itself becomes an asset meant to survive through generations. Skyscrapers, buildings, real estate, where it shows in the chart. Trump's chart clearly supports a life tied to real estate and visible construction. His midheaven is in Taurus, a sign associated with land, property, material value, and wealth through physical assets. Taurus at the top of the chart often points to careers that involve building, owning, and controlling tangible resources. More importantly, Trump's sun is in the 10th house, the strongest career placement in astrology. The 10th house is public reputation, authority, leadership, and the pursuit of recognition. People with the sun in the 10th are rarely content living privately. They are built to climb. He also has Uranus in Gemini in the 10th house, closely connected to his sun. Uranus brings disruption, spectacle, risk, and reinvention. This suggests not just real estate, but real estate as branding and performance. Skyscrapers become symbols, buildings become identity, the career becomes a stage. Indicators of presidency, why power and public leadership were possible. The signature of leadership is extremely strong. Sun in the 10th house alone can describe someone destined for high public office or at least a high visible authority role. But Trump also has the North Node in Gemini in the 10th house, reinforcing the theme of life direction tied to public status and career destiny. In other words, the chart doesn't show a man who could remain only a businessman. The astrology pushes toward public significance. It pulls the individual into national visibility. And with Leo rising, he is psychologically comfortable with leadership. He does not fear the stage. He seeks it. Big money, capital, and financial risk. Wealth with myth attached. Trump's money axis is very telling. He has Jupiter in Libra in the 2nd house, which is one of the classic placements for financial expansion. Jupiter in the 2nd tends to attract opportunity, deals, and growth. Libra adds negotiation, contracts, partnerships, and legal frameworks. This is money through relationships and agreements. But he also has Neptune in Libra in the 2nd house, which complicates everything. Neptune brings myth, ambiguity, distortion, and symbolic wealth. It can indicate money that is difficult to measure clearly, finances tied to image, and a public narrative where wealth becomes part of branding rather than purely numbers. This combination explains why Trump's wealth has always been both real and debated. Jupiter expands the money story. Neptune makes it unclear, controversial, and surrounded by perception battles. If you are enjoying this look at Donald Trump's natal chart, please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Womanizer image and multiple relationships, the love life signature. Trump's chart shows a relationship pattern tied to both ego and emotional need. His Mars in Leo wants admiration. It wants to be desired. He seeks romantic validation as proof of status. This placement often creates a conqueror tone in love. Romance becomes part of identity and dominance. At the same time, his Venus in Cancer is emotionally driven. Venus in Cancer seeks loyalty, attachment, and comfort, but Venus is conjunct Saturn, which often adds control, distance, or strategic seriousness to relationships. It can show love mixed with obligation and status considerations. This combination can create a person who needs emotional security, but also needs constant external validation. It can produce multiple relationship narratives, public romantic drama, and a love life that becomes part of the brand. Melania Trump's synastry. Why this match works. Melania's chart is fundamentally different from Donald's, and that contrast is exactly why the relationship functions. Trump's natal signature is loud and volatile. Leo ascendant, Mars in Leo, strong 10th house energy. He creates attention, conflict, and constant public movement. Melania, by contrast, is built for stability. Her chart is heavily Taurus. Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Saturn in Taurus. Taurus energy is loyal, consistent, and focused on material security and long-term endurance. She doesn't thrive in chaos, she contains it. Her moon in Capricorn adds emotional restraint and a strong survival instinct. Capricorn moon doesn't perform feelings publicly. It prioritizes structure, reputation, and long-term outcomes. In synastry, the most important compatibility is the link between her Taurus energy and his Cancer placements. Trump has Mercury, Venus, and Saturn in Cancer, and Cancer plus Taurus is one of the strongest building combinations in astrology. Cancer protects the private world. Taurus stabilizes the external world. Together, it creates a fortress dynamic: loyalty, security, and legacy. This is also why their relationship often appears less romantic and more strategic. Melania's Capricorn moon sets boundaries, and her Taurus emphasis reinforces endurance. She doesn't compete with his Leo ego, she supports the structure around it. Even the attraction pattern fits. Her Mars in Gemini connects easily with his Gemini sun, creating mental stimulation and a fast initial spark. Overall, Melania provides what Trump's chart lacks: Earth energy. She grounds the dynasty image, absorbs pressure, and helps the partnership survive scandal and public scrutiny, not through emotional display, but through stability and control. Capitol riot, impeachments, and crisis energy. Why controversy follows him. One of the most important aspects in Trump's chart is Sun opposite Moon. This is the signature of internal contradiction that becomes public conflict. It often describes a person whose identity naturally clashes with the collective emotional atmosphere. It creates polarization. It turns the individual into a national argument. His Sun is also connected to Uranus, and Uranus always brings disruption, rebellion, and sudden shocks. Uranian people don't move through life calmly. They create turning points. They trigger events. This is why his political story is full of crisis. The chart doesn't describe stability. It describes constant disruption and reinvention, with the person at the center of the storm. Public hatred and extreme reactions. Why neutrality is impossible. Trump's chart is built for extreme reactions. Leo rising makes him impossible to ignore. Mars rising makes him combative. Sun in the 10th house makes him power-driven and visible. Sun opposite Moon makes him divisive. Uranus in the 10th house makes him shocking. This is not the astrology of a universally liked figure. It is the astrology of a symbol. He becomes larger than himself because the chart is designed for collective projection. People don't only react to Trump as a person, they react to what he represents. A chart that turns life into a stage. Donald Trump's natal chart describes a person built for visibility, authority, and controversy. Leo rising gives him the stage. Mars rising gives him conflict. The 10th house sun gives him power, ambition. Uranus in the 10th gives him disruption and spectacle. Jupiter in the 2nd gives him expansion. Neptune in the 2nd house gives myth and ambiguity around wealth. This is why his story doesn't fade quietly. His chart is not written for silence. It is written for impact and for being remembered.